We'll make life. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode and edition of the Simple 60 Workshop, the Power of No Networking 101. I'm Brent Halfwassen, Milwaukee Small Business Coach. I'm honored to be with you here today and with my special guest to be able to talk more about this awesome topic that baffles so many people and causes so much confusion. So a little bit about me. I'm a Milwaukee Small Business Coach. My focus is to help small business owners transform their hard work into hard cash. See, there are too many of us who are working our butts off and don't have enough to show for it. And I don't want to have that to happen anymore. That's one of the reasons why I wanted this to be a topic. And when I talked with Mitch, I knew he had to be on the show because networking is one of the places that so many of us fall down. But the key is, and anyone who's been in small business for any amount of time knows this, your network is your net worth, and it's your network and your connections that make things happen. So just a little bit about what I do: work with owners, entrepreneurs, founders, and decision makers who are working hard, but don't have much money to show for it. You're ready to master that link between what you do and the results you want to achieve. You've launched, but you found that reality doesn't match your plan. That's pretty much every time, but that sometimes gets us stuck. Then ultimately you have difficulty telling your story and maximizing its impact. While we're hanging out here, I do want to go ahead to give Mitch a perspective of where we're at. Please do take this 2-minute survey. You can either scan the QR code at the bottom or go to bit.ly/Brent Network. It's 2 quick questions. We just want to find out where we have in the room in terms of networkers, people who network a lot, people who don't, and then also to get one word from you. If there was one word that would epitomize what it is that you think about when networking comes up, we'd like to understand that because we want to know where we're starting from. And while we do that, I want to just invite Mitch. Mitch, tell us a little bit about yourself. While people are filling out the survey, no one likes dead air as a longtime radio man. Tell us about yourself and why you're the best one to talk about this topic.
Oh boy. Well, no pressure whatsoever, right, Brent?
None at all. None at all.
Well, great to see you. Excuses. If I move this computer this way, you see there's another computer and a whole mic stand over there. My whole setup decided to have some gremlins this afternoon, so I'm on my daughter's computer. So just a little fun. We're pivoting. Everybody drink, and we're making it worth it. So my name is Mitch Nelles, aka Thunder. We can talk about where the nickname Thunder came from if you want to. I spent 15 years in the sports radio business, on air, doing sales, doing marketing, doing promotions, working the room, being part of the action. And right before pandemic hit, I moved into the nonprofit world, into fundraising, and did that for just a few months until my position was cut, as so many other people had to figure new things out. So a couple of years ago, I started my own LLC, Thunder MKE, where I do a little bit of everything. I do emceeing and auctioneering of events. I do some podcasting. I do some fundraising and some corporate sponsorship work. And at the end of the day, I like to think of myself as a connector and a networker. I love connecting people. I love being, whether it's socially or professionally, I love having people from different times of my lives come together and have a chance to meet and get together. And that's always been a passion of mine as a connector. I know a lot of people like to keep their separate groups separate. I've always been someone who's liked to combine those groups and get all my groups together in the same room and see what we can learn and how we can all grow together. So that's where I am today. I live in Whitefish Bay with my wife and 2 kids, and I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitch. Hey, let's take a look at those responses that are pouring in so we have a chance to see what's can everyone see the pie chart up on the screen? Is that up right now?
Yes.
Hopefully. Yep. There it is. Awesome. So it looks like, Mitch, we got a lot of people who are out there. They say they're out there often or a lot. That's a quarter of the group, basically. In a quarter who are out there, they say they're out there, 6 times or more. So that means we got a group here that loves the network or they have an expansive view of what networking is. And to me, that may be a piece that we're definitely going to touch on. Some words that come to mind: relationships, extending connections, smoothing, connecting, poor sales pitches. That's kind of on my no list. Ideas, exchange of ideas, social engagement, support, and connections. and connecting. So we hear a lot about connecting, and I think that piece is definitely true. Welcome, Elsie. I see you came on. Dr. Mary, thanks for joining us. And well, we got a bunch of people going on past the screen. So good news. Let me just, where I want to dive in here just for a second is I got some things that bug me. And since Mitch has been was a talk radio man, like, let's just go in and kill some of these no-nos, and let's just walk through them, because I got to hit some stuff before I even go, because there's some things that I absolutely hate about networking. Maybe some of you hate the same things about networking, but let's go some of these. And please don't be that person. Please don't be that person. My favorite line when people come up to me, I've coached over 600 different entrepreneurs. I've been blessed since 2017 with over 600 people. And people walk up to me all the time. Hi, do you remember me? Dead pause. The worst. Okay. Please, just don't do that. That's just poor taste. It shows a little bit of insecurity on your part, that like someone needs to remember you. And frankly, just give someone an out. It's embarrassing if you legitimately should remember and you don't. And then it's sort of embarrassing for you when it's like, nope, like who are you? And nice to meet you. So don't do that. Right on with that list, not telling me your name. I get it that like sometimes we should know you. Like I've seen people on Zoom. I've seen you before. I've taught you in classes. We met at that networking event a year ago. This is the corollary to it. Just go ahead and introduce yourself. Some events, the better ones, honestly, they give you a name tag. I started bringing my name tag to events, and people are like, Brent, nice name tag. Like, you go everywhere with your name tag? The answer is yes. Why? Because I would like people to know who I am and ideally what I do and remember me, because I'm there to build connections and hopefully build some business and support people along the way. So just tell me your name. Hey, we met a few weeks ago. I'm Brent, and Milwaukee small business coach, and now go on with your thing. Right.
Brent, real quick, I'm going to jump in on number 2, not telling me your name. One of the big things about networking is losing the ego, to go off of what you're talking about. So many people, listen, we all want to be remembered. We all want to have had an impact on the people we met. But if we're at a networking event, and especially judging by that pie chart, we've got a lot of professionals here, a lot of professional networkers here, a lot of people who know what they're doing, but you've probably met a lot of people. And so lose the ego. It's okay to have to reintroduce yourself. If you lead with it, you make it a lot less awkward. You don't have to rack your brain for who that was. And even, asking somebody what their name is again, lose the ego. If I ask somebody, and you say it the right way, hey, I'm so sorry. I know we've met before. And I'm just like, and sometimes I blame, listen, look at the color of my hair. Sometimes I blame my old age. Sometimes I blame that, whatever excuse we come up with. Make it polite, lead with kindness, lead with authenticity, lose the ego.
I'm going long COVID. Long COVID's my excuse. I can't remember anything. So, pushing your paper in my face. I particularly like this. Business cards are like the smallest piece of paper, but I've had, the half sheets, I've had flyers, all that stuff. I don't want your paper. I want to know about you. I want to know more about what brings you here, why you're exciting, why you're interesting. I don't have time at a networking event to read your stuff, and it's not a trade show. So please don't push your paper in the face, and don't pass a card just to pass a card. It's not a competition to see who goes through the deck of cards first. Ultimately, it's about building connections. And I love the fact that was half the responses that we had there. Talking for more than 3 minutes. I think this is a no-no. I say 3 minutes because no one ever sticks to their time. So it's probably more like 5. But if you're really at a networking event, this is not a time to get reacquainted forever when you haven't met someone for the last 20 years. It's not a time to ask me to please do a free coaching session right there on the spot while I'm at a networking event. The goal is to build an acquaintance, build a connection. Perhaps we set up a follow-up. That's why on my business cards, I actually have a QR code in the back to say, hey, look, I'd love to talk more. Why don't you go ahead and grab some time on my calendar, and we'll spend 30 minutes talking. But it's not about dominating the conversation. And the last one I would put out there is hogging the line. You've probably all experienced this. There's that one person that everyone wants to go talk to. There's a line of like 50 people who want to get up and talk to them in the 12 minutes they've given you between, the main speaker and the breakout session you're about to go to. And there's one person who's hogging up that whole line. Again, be thoughtful, be kind, like Mitch said. Don't hog that line. Keep your time short. And remember, if it's a connection and a conversation you need to have, schedule that follow-up. Those are some things I just had to get off my chest before Mitch even had the chance to take the stage. So we're open to any. Make sure that chat, by the way, is lighting up. If anything resonates and you want some things going in there, and I know that Alan, you've already got a question in there. That's good. But use that chat. This is a spot where it's difficult. Again, we've got 16 people on the line. There's probably some more folks coming. So drop it in the chat. Mitch and I will try and get to them if possible. And also, you can have the sideline conversations. That's what the IC is all about. Sarcastic remarks, questions, and comments. Always welcome. Mitch, that's what I got in terms of initial. So why don't you go ahead and take it away and let us know what's on your mind.
Awesome, Brent. Well, I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity. MK's small business coach. That is not just a fun title. That is a real title. That is who Brent is, and so love being a part of your network. Love being in the Idea Collective, and love having the opportunity to connect with people outside the collective in this group as well. So I kind of feel like I should just let everybody chime in. I mean, we really are in a room of strong connectors and strong networkers. So if you agree with what I say, great. If you disagree with what I say, even better. Let's hear about it in the chat. Let's discuss it. Let's mute my phone. And let's get going. So I've called this presentation Networking 101, the power of no. No can stand for Networking 101. It can also stand for just simply no. And before I get into the whole networking side of what I love doing and why I love doing it, I always talk about the sales process. Now, I know this isn't a sales seminar, but I got to get a little salesy because for 15 years, I did sell, marketing, and advertising. Huge part of that. But at the end of the day, I want to talk about the word no, because I love the word no. And I know that's a crazy thing to talk about because we all want yes. But whether I'm networking or whether I'm selling, and the way I've always thought about this is go back to high school, go back to college, go back to whenever it was, go back to a time before you were in whatever relationship you're in right now, or whatever relationship you've been in the past, or wherever you've been in your life. And think about in high school, maybe there was somebody you wanted to ask out, or maybe you had a friend who wanted to ask out a friend, and you were helping advise them, you were talking to them. And I'm going to tell you why this has been a part of what's inside of us for a lot longer than we've been professionals. But we've thought about that asking someone out. Yeah, I've got a friend. Have you met Ted? Any Have I met your How I Met Your Mother fans? That person you want to ask out, and you're just so nervous to ask them out. Maybe they're a little out of your league. Maybe whatever the circumstances. Maybe you don't think you're good enough for them. Maybe you asked someone else out once and they said no, and then you found yourself in this situation. So you don't ask, and you just keep thinking about it. And then you see them at the football game and you don't ask. And then you see them at the mall. Remember when we always used to hang out at the mall? Then you see them at the mall. And then you see them at the record store. And then you see them at the pizza place. And then you see them at school again. And you keep thinking about, I want to ask them out. And you keep not asking them out. Well, where are you? You've paralyzed yourself, right? You haven't gotten a yes. You haven't gotten a no. You've put yourself, not in the friend zone, in the maybe zone. Nice. I am definitely keeping the gray hair coming. You've put yourself in the maybe zone, which when we talk about networking, when we talk about sales, maybe is the worst. But even before we got involved in whatever we're doing, we've put ourselves in the maybe zone by not asking that person out, by not finding out more information, by not entering into networking or connecting with this person. And that is where we paralyze ourselves. So fast forward to today, and wherever you are in your life, wherever you are professionally, I'm going to tell you, it's okay. It's okay to metaphorically ask that person out. Meaning it's okay to network with that big whale in the room. It's okay to send that LinkedIn invite or that Facebook message or that email or pick up the phone, oh my gosh, and make a phone call or walk into that room. It's okay. Because if we fill our bucket with no's, guess what? Yeah, the rejection stinks, but we get a lot closer to the yes. Because if somebody says no, if we ask that person out and they say no, well, guess what? We didn't have a date with them yesterday. We don't have a date with them tomorrow. We're in the exact same place. We haven't lost anything except maybe a little confidence, maybe some mental courage, but we're really in the same place. But now we're closer to asking the next person out who's going to say yes, instead of being paralyzed day after day after day by whatever we have built up in our heads as this maybe. That is the power of no. That is networking 101. So when we talk about networking and we talk about connecting, one of the things that I love to bring into the conversation is Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek, as we all know, people don't buy what you're selling. They buy why you sell it. They buy why you do what you do. And any strong networker, any strong connector is going to have the ability to tell their why story. Everybody, I mean, we can raise your hands if you want. You've all got your 60-second elevator speech, right? Everybody's got their elevator pitch, I hope.
Yep.
And everybody's got their elevator pitch about their why. What? All right, so you sell gadgets and gadgets, but why do you do it? Well, I do it because I like to help people, and I need to put, and I need to make a living, and whatever it might be, and I love doing it. Like, I've always done this. My dad did it before me, or my parents struggled to get me to college, and now I do this because. So we all have our why. I want to push you one step beyond that. I want to hear the why behind your why. I know you want to help people. And people. We all want to make a living. But what's the motivation that you are specifically doing what you are doing? And I can tell you right away that when I walk into a room and I can connect with somebody that when I was 14 years old, I applied to go on a trip with all my friends and they all got accepted and I didn't. And so my why is FOMO. My why is the fear of missing out. And that's why I talked about how I love connecting all my friends with all my friends. I want everyone to be connected. I want everyone to know everyone. I want person X to know why I think person C is great and vice versa, even though they'd never be in each other's universes if it wasn't for me. So that's my personal story of connection. That's my personal story of networking. Now, let's go 30,000 feet up. Let's talk about you just walked into the room. Okay? You just walked it. Now we're in, what do we got? 18 people here. So you walked into a room of 18. But usually when you walk into a room, you walk into a room of 50. You walk into a room of 75. You walked into the power breakfast, or the networking lunch, or the happy hour, or whatever it might be called, whatever snazzy name the networking organization came up with to get you into that room. And I'm not going to tell you that room's not scary. Even the most outgoing person in the world is going to take that deep breath, going to take that calming breath before you walk into that room. And things have changed. So often we are in this digital room. We are not in the room where it happens. I know Aaron Burr really wants to be there, but we can't all be in the room where it happens. But more and more, we're getting back to that room. More and more, we're seeing that room happen. And the first thing I want to tell you is what I already told you. It's okay. It's okay to get the no when you're asking for something specifically. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay, you can't tell me that Michael Jordan or LeBron James aren't nervous sometimes when they play basketball. Play. I have basketball in the mind because it's, the Bucks and all that. But it's okay. It's also okay to open yourself up. Because when you walk into that room, you're going to find that you're asking yourself to be vulnerable. You're not asking other people to be vulnerable, and nobody's asking you to be vulnerable. But to accomplish what you want to accomplish in that room, you're going to show some vulnerability. You're going to share with people your why behind your why. Why do you have this FOMO? Why do you want to connect? Why do you want to sell this? Why is it so important that you make a living? Why is it so important that you help people? What is your motivation behind your motivation? And you're going to find that the connection you make with people is much deeper and much more meaningful than, hi, how are you? Here's my business card. Brent talked about business cards, so let's talk about business cards. And Alan asked, how do you refuse the paper? I think that's a great question. So I'm gonna flip it on you a little bit, Brent. I love business cards. I love business cards. I love digital business cards. I don't love paper. Don't give me that half piece of paper. Don't give me a full piece of paper. Don't come to a meeting. Don't come to a networking meeting knowing I'm going to be there and pitch me something. I don't want to be pitched if I'm at a networking meeting. So don't show up to a networking meeting and pitch somebody else unless they ask for it. Listen, if somebody asks for a pitch, if somebody says, give me your 60-second elevator pitch, and they love it so much, they want you to tell them all about your product or all about your service or whatever it might be, go ahead and be ready for that pitch. But don't show up with the pitch. Don't force your pitch upon people. A networking event is not an opportunity to pitch someone on what you're selling them, unless it develops organically into that because you've made a connection. And how do you make that connection? Again, by opening up and being vulnerable, to tell people your why. And this is such a hard thing in networking because we walk into that room and everybody's dressed up and everybody thinks they can rule the room and win the room and be like, oh, I could walk into any room and, within 5 minutes, everybody wants to meet me. I know a lot who thinks that way. A lot of us, we just want to survive the room. We just want to meet who we came to meet. We want to meet some new people, some unexpected people we didn't even expect to meet. And we want to walk away feeling good about that we did it. So we're in the room, we're in the Zoom, wherever we might be. And we're feeling nervous and we're feeling scared. And we don't want to be rejected by too many people. We understand that getting no's are good because they get us to the next yes quicker. But it's still hard to have somebody say no to us. And so what I want you to remember when you walk into that room is that you already won. You've already accomplished something big. You may not have met the person you want to meet yet, but you made it there. I think far too often we're not kind enough to ourselves. Far too often we're too hard on ourselves. And I think if we've made the decision to sign up for a networking event, all right, let's give ourselves a little pat on the back. Let's say, hey, good job. When we show up for the event, let's give ourselves another pat on the back. Let's feel good about ourselves. It's okay to feel good about yourself. It's okay to be nice to yourself, because the nicer you are to yourself, the more you can walk into that room and you've stacked some successes. You've stacked some wins. You've built your confidence a little bit. If you frame your mind to think that I've won, I've already got a couple of wins under my belt. Well, now I can meet the person I want to meet. That decision's already been made. You're already in the room. So take it to the next level. Walk into that room, go into that room, and feel good about yourself while you go and meet those people.
Let me wrap back to that piece of paper because I'm with you, Mitch, on getting the
Yes.
cards. I don't like business cards to lead the conversation. Business cards should lag the conversation. What I'm talking about is you walk up to someone and before you even said, oh, hey, they're like, here's my business card. You're like, dude, bring it down.
Blow down.
Because your business card doesn't sell you. Your business card is a key for me to help remember, hey, who did they have that conversation with? And I pull it out and I look at it and I'm like, oh, okay, that's right. Ryan Monroe, that dude's awesome. And I need to connect with him later and get it figured out. I don't want people to like, a lot of times I feel like people feel like if you have my card, my job's done. I'm going to walk out of the room. What I prefer in a conversation is to get to the point where I can ask, hey, do you have a card on you? I want the card because I'm going to do something with it. I want to follow up. I want to continue the conversation. We talked about someone. I'm going to make a connection to Mitch. I'm going to have someone talk to Jen. You need to know about EB. So that's going to be an important connection, but I want to make the ask. Or at the end of the conversation, hey, do you mind if I give you a card? I'd love to continue the conversation. I will point out, I always think it's better to get a card than to give a card, because then you get to control the follow-up. If I give a card, I'm hoping that one, you do something with that card besides put it in your pocket and throw it out at the end of the night when you empty out your pants and go to bed and you're like, what's all this stuff? It goes in the garbage. By the way, that's what happens with a piece of paper. What I tell folks when they want to pass me a piece of paper is, hey, do me a favor. I don't like collecting a bunch of paper because honestly, I just recycle it all. But if you want me to take a look at it, shoot me an email. Puts the onus on them and changes it from, I just printed 500 of these things to digicopy and I'm looking to pass them out as fast as I can because they're burning my hands, to make a more thoughtful, do you really want me to do anything with it? Or were you just shoving stuff in my face? And it allows a dialogue and a conversation to go on instead.
Brent, I think that's a great point, and thank you for chiming in. And I think that you talk about the process of the card and the process of having these connections. I underlined this 3 times on my paper. I don't know if you, it'll be backwards so nobody can see it, but it says follow through. So I'll jump to that piece of it because we already talked about sharing cards, and I'll get back into being in the room in a second. But I want to impress upon everybody, because we talked about the business card, is that one of the keys in networking isn't even in the room, isn't even in the networking. It's in the follow through. I talked about stacking wins and feeling good about ourselves. Well, one of the things that I don't always feel so great about myself, and I get on myself about, is I don't always have the best follow through with people I want to. I'll have a great meeting with somebody, or I'll have a great, somebody will set me up on a coffee date or on a Zoom date with someone, and we'll share all these ideas, and then we'll shoot a text or a lost in the ether, and there's no real follow through when that happens. One thing I would say is I love always have a pen. I love always have a pen, because I write on people's business cards. Like I'll write, a keyword that's going to make me remember that person, or why I wanted to connect with that person further. And I'm not afraid, somebody's business card there's nothing religious about it. There's nothing sacred. Thank you about it. That I shouldn't be writing on it. Like that is now my property to be able to, if I was networking with someone, I want to be able to follow through with that person appropriately. I don't want to follow through, and I've done this. Like, again, lose your ego. I have messaged somebody and say, hey, I know we met at this event. I know we hit it off, but I can't remember what my homework was. I can't remember what our next steps were. Were you waiting for something from me? Was I waiting on you? Or do you just want to get a cup of coffee? Again, more often than not, when we lose the ego in that process and we lead with kindness, good things are going to happen. Yes, there are going to be those people who take that as, that's my opportunity now to say no to you. And again, I would say, maybe at the end of the day, that's not the person I wanted to network with, or I lost that opportunity, but now I can get closer to the next opportunity. Alan chimes in and he says, I dread the people that hand you a card and never ask for yours in return. And Alan, I'm the complete opposite. I dread the people that I give them my card and they don't give me theirs in return. Because I know if somebody gives me their card, I'm sending them an email within 24 to 48 hours or 0 to 48 hours. Like I'm sending them like I might send them an email in 20 minutes, but I'm going to within 48 hours, I'm sending them an email. But if I hit it off with someone and I give them my card and they don't give me a card, then I'm in that maybe world. I've just entered maybe world. Maybe they'll call me. Maybe they'll text me. Maybe they'll email me. Maybe not. So again, if we're leading with kindness, if you give somebody, or if somebody gives you a card, it's okay to give that. You don't have to be asked. People in a networking room know what they're there for. And this goes, I guess, we're going back into that room, right? We're going back into the room. And one of my main key points here is when you're at a networking event, whether it's in the Idea Collective that was at 3:00 today that I was just a part of, and I jumped in there for 20 minutes, or I'm doing, the power breakfast or the lunch or the happy hour, whatever it might be. I know why I'm in the room. I know why I'm in the room, and I hope that everybody else knows why they're in the room. If you've signed up for a networking event, I hope that you're going to be open and vulnerable. And if you're not going to be vulnerable, I hope at least you're going to be open to meeting new people and to sharing your information. And so I ask everybody in this room to be open to that. And as I do that, feel free, this is such a hokey thing that Zoom has turned us into, but I'm doing it anyway because it's part of networking. At some point today, feel free to put your LinkedIn in the chat, right? Like that's hokey. We've all been in that room where that's the first thing they ask you to do. And nobody's met anybody. And nobody, and this isn't exactly a networking event. This is a webinar about networking. But I would love this to turn into networking opportunities for people in this room, where it's not going to happen right now. But if you see someone, maybe there's somebody in this room that you've been meaning to connect with. Maybe there's somebody in this room that you've heard of that haven't had the chance to connect with before. Or maybe you just get everybody's LinkedIn profile and you click on them and you pinpoint one or two people that make sense for you to connect with professionally, personally, lifestyle-wise, whatever it might be. There's power in that connection. There's power in saying, and blame me. Say, Mitch made me do it. Say, Mitch made me connect with you. Mitch made me reach out to you. Mitch said I had to do this. You want to blame it on me? I'll take it. I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. So feel free to put your LinkedIn in the chat and go for it. So you're in the room. Yeah,
Mitch,
go ahead,
let me wade in on on Alan's question as well.
Yep.
I'll tell you, I've gone through a box or two of cards in my life, and I bet you I can count from networking events. I can probably count on one hand the number of people who proactively actually follow up and reach back out to me. You get all the control when you get the card, literally. So I wouldn't worry about someone doesn't ask for one back. I just make sure that I get it, and then I make sure to follow up. That follow-up part that Mitch put out there, the card and the conversation are by and large useless without the follow-up. And that's true in so many things. But I would, Mitch made it. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you. I love it.
This is one of the pieces that I think will differentiate everyone, where you feel like, man, I go to all these networking events and nothing ever comes about from them, because we go into that, I'm going to now wait and see what comes my way. Be one of the 1% who's willing to reach out. And to your point, Mitch, about having a plan when you enter the room, man, I love that. Like, what are you there to do? Are you there just to learn about other people in the organization? That's cool. Are you there to find people you think would be a good fit for your services? That's cool. But whatever you're there for, have a little bit of a mission. I think that helps the game. You're right. Win number 1, I signed up. Win number 2, I showed up. Win number 3, now I'm playing the game, like, the bingo squares of like, and I usually go into a room and someone's like, well, why do you stop at 3? I want to have 3 good conversations. And I define 3 good conversations as either someplace I can make a connection, someone who's connecting me somewhere, or someone who's a potential prospect. So I may have more conversations than that. And some of them are just like, hey, that was cool. Nice learning about your business. There's not really a fit there, although it goes in the back of the mind because I may run across someone else who needs to know about that individual. But I focus on 3. And so then it's a game and I'm not done yet. I'm at 2. Well, and I'm tired and it's like a half hour left, but I got to get my 3. So let me go out and get 3. I don't think 3 is an unachievable number. And I'm okay, not being the guy who comes out with a stack of 50 cards, because I almost guarantee that person never does anything with those cards. But those are some pieces when I come out. If you're doing the follow up and you set a reasonable target for yourself, suddenly networking becomes achievable. You can come back and be like, yeah, nailed it. What am I going to do? I better follow up on those 3 I get. Otherwise, those leads get dropped like a hot stone.
Absolutely. Carrie chimes in with a reminder that it's important to keep your LinkedIn updated. And so, Carrie, I love that. I appreciate that. That is absolutely spot on. Thank you for sharing that, because I think so many of us, I think there's been a bigger emphasis on that with Zoom meetings and all the virtual meetings, but I think it's still a great reminder to all of us that it's important to keep our LinkedIn updated. And so the next part of networking I want to talk about has more to do with LinkedIn, actually, has more to do with social media. I remember when I was working at the radio station and I was at my sales desk. So, I was in sales and I was on the air. So when I was on the air, I was talking about the Bucks and the Packers and the Brewers and Wisconsin sports mostly. When I was in sales, I was calling on VPs of marketing, chief marketing officers, marketing managers, business owners. Those are the type of people I was meeting with there. And I remember I was at my sales desk and I was on Facebook. And my director of sales walked by. He said, what are you doing playing on Facebook? Like, that's what you're supposed to do when you're on air. You're not on it. You got to focus. And I literally popped up 3 windows from the bottom that I had open, all Facebook Messenger boxes of business owner, decision maker, marketing manager, 3 different companies where I was having discussions with them over Facebook Messenger. And so what I would say when it comes to networking, we talked about being in the room. We talked about the courage. We talked about the wins. We talked about getting the no's, because that gets you to the next person that gets the yeses. But I also want to talk about that in 2023, yes, there are cold leads that you are going to go after. There's a company, there's a business person, there's a decision maker, there's a lifestyle guru, there's whoever, there's an influencer that you have no connection to and you're going to go after. But compared to 30 years ago, the amount of warm calls and warm leads that we should be able to create for ourselves through networking has expanded exponentially. And what I mean by that is, whether you're on LinkedIn and you're connected with somebody, if you're not connected with somebody, somebody who can get to somebody who can get to somebody. You're on social media, you're on Facebook, my TikTok game is terrible, so I won't. But whether, Instagram, but certainly Facebook and absolutely LinkedIn, you look up somebody's profile who's semi-active on LinkedIn. Now, they may not be great at getting back to you on LinkedIn if you send them a message on LinkedIn, but if they're at least semi-active on LinkedIn, it behooves you. You have to do your due diligence to at least try to get a warm introduction to that person before reaching out to them, before a cold email or a cold phone call or a cold, let's say you get their cell phone number and you send them a cold text message, whatever it might be. There are ways. I remember once, man, this is one of my favorites. We could not get in touch with this director of marketing, and we knew they advertised on other radio stations, and nobody knew this person. We sent her a cake. And it just said, "Can't wait to talk." And it had our radio station at the bottom. And a couple days later, I called, and guess what? She still wouldn't take my call. It did not end happy. We do have examples of those that did end happy. This one did not end happy. But what I want to impress upon you is find the warm lead. Use LinkedIn to your advantage. It's not cheating to use social media. It's not oh, that's that newfangled stuff. That's only, it's all politics and pictures of people's pets and pictures of people's food. Like those things all exist when you go down the rabbit holes of our social media. But you know what else exists? Introductions, connections, relationships, finding people where they are. And then it's on you. Then it's on you to be vulnerable. Then it's on you to open up. Then it's on you to introduce yourself, explain your why, the why behind your why, and why you think they're a good fit, why you think you're a good fit to connect to each other. Whatever the relationship might end up being, whether it's a friendship or a working relationship, or you're looking to hire someone, it's an employer, or you're looking for a job, whatever that type of networking opportunity is. If you have a friend, if you have a colleague, if you have someone who introduced you to that person, you've just skipped 5 steps in a good way. It's not a bad, there are good shortcuts in life. Yes, we don't want to take shortcuts when it comes to hard work and to doing things the right way. But this is doing things the right way. There's nothing wrong with using our LinkedIn, with using our current networks to expand our networks. So if we talk about being in the room and having the courage and getting those names, and whether you're a business card person or not, making sure you have the follow through to follow up, not you don't rely on somebody else to follow through with you. Your job, it is your job to follow up, to follow through with that person, using all the tools at your disposal, using your social network, using the person that you worked with 10 years ago that you're on LinkedIn but haven't talked to in 10 years, but you see they work for the same company that you've been dying to work for. Reach out. Again, the power of no. If they don't reply, that's a maybe, but it's kind of a no. And you can move on to the next person. You can move on to the next opportunity. You can stop pining after that. You can wipe that maybe out of your head and get to and put it in the no bucket for now and get to the next yes. So the power of no and networking 101 is getting that no, because it gets you to the next yes. It gets you to deepen relationships, to deepen connections, and to have the courage to network like a pro, and to network like the person you've always known you could network like.
Well, let me jump in on those hot leads, because there's using LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. Sometimes you can do it in advance if you actually know who's coming to the event. For instance, like this event, when I sent out the RSVP, as people click, yes, I'm coming to the event, names show up on that LinkedIn event. You can actually see who said they're showing up. We all know the people who RSVP and the people who show, or sometimes it's a little bit different list, but you can get a heads up there. And on the way out, if you know who is in the room, you can take a look. And in addition to sending them a message through LinkedIn, if you're connected, first degree connection with someone, you can click on the contact info, because we connected to a lot of people, right? Like we were on all these Zoom sessions. We're looking at like, oh, there's 14 people on the call. Let's go ahead and, send out a connection request to everyone. I don't know if I ever talked to them or met them or remember anything, but when you hit their contact information, you can actually, for most people, unless they've actively blocked it, there's an email address there. You can actually send them an email, which for a lot of folks, I've had some friends that I send a note to, and about like 3 years later, I get this response on LinkedIn. And they're like, hey, I just saw you sent this to me before the pandemic, but I'm just finding it now. I'm doing well. How are you? And you're just like, what, 3 years? And that's all we get is like, how are you? So do both. Drop them a note on LinkedIn, and then on the email, hey, dropped you a note on LinkedIn, but just thought I'd catch you here over email. And it provides a little bit of familiarity. And I think even a comfort level, if you can't get someone else to give you that warm intro, if you happen to be connected because you were in, you're both in the IC together. Well, there's, 217 people in the Idea Collective. So I haven't met them all yet. I'm working on it, but I haven't met them all yet. But you just find a common connection point. It makes the lead warmer than, hey, I think you're a great prospect and I'd love to sell you some crap. Would you take my call? No, heck no. I'll never do that. But if there's some connection of any type, hey, I saw you on Mitch's presentation the other day on networking. and curious if you have some time to talk. For some reason, that lowers the barrier because we have a common connection. And if you can find someone that knows even better, there's one thing I'll tell you I love about Mitch. When we first sat down and met, I think the first thing we did was, oh, this person, I think you need to talk to him. And then same turned around. And all of a sudden, we're just trying to connect each other all the time. And it's part of the power of the networking is to multiply it out.
Absolutely. And Brent, you touched on something that was actually in my computer that the gremlins are in right now. And so if you do have that fear of networking, if you're not sure about that networking, network in a friendly group first. Network in a group of people that you know, whether you already know them or they're friends of friends, or it's a like-minded group. It's, you love hiking and there's there's a hike planned, or you love, it's at a coffee house and you go to that coffee house anyway and you join in or whatever, or it's in your marketing, you're in marketing and it's a marketing group, or you're in broadcasting and it's a broadcasting group, or you're in production and textiles or whatever it might be. So finding a group that's friendly is often a low barrier entry. Again, that gives you those wins, that gives you that confidence. So then you're ready for a bigger group. Then you're ready for a different group. Then you're ready for a group that you've always wanted to go to, but you never had the courage. Or ask a friend. Ask a friend to go with you to a group. You're going to a networking group, but again, you're nervous to walk into that room. Grab some support. There's nothing wrong with having a support system. I think that it's sometimes scary, it's sometimes embarrassing to say, hey, I need somebody to come with me. It's not embarrassing. It's human. It's okay. Again, let's start being kind to ourselves. Let's start leading the right way. And Jen said that, yeah, Jen, I network with a buddy, but not to stick together, to go to make connections for each other. Have you met my friend? Jen, that's a great point, because if you walk into a room with a friend, sometimes you can go separate ways. Sometimes you can do it as a tag team, and you could meet somebody who's a great fit for your friend. Well, all of a sudden you've created a warm lead right there in real life. Isn't doing it IRL? Doesn't that sound fun? IRL, in real life, in case anybody didn't know that one.
Let me throw another thing out, Mitch. The big room. Here's the deal about a big room. If you've set a goal for yourself, I'm going to have 3 good conversations. I'm going to have 5 conversations. Don't think about the room being big, because you're not going to talk to everyone. And it's not like you're walking in on the red carpet and as soon as you come in, everyone's like, ladies and gentlemen, Brent Halfwassen has just entered the room. Stop what you're doing and turn right. That doesn't happen. You're walking in after registration with the program for the day and maybe a name tag that you wrote with your sloppy handwriting and put on your shirt that won't stay stuck anymore, or whatever it is. That's it. Go and narrow it down. It's a table. It's a person. It's someone that no one else is talking to for that moment, for that reason, and have your approach. But then there's no expectation. No one can reasonably work the huge room. That's just sort of nonsense. And you get the blowhards who tell you all about it. And I don't believe them. I don't think they make a good connection anyway. So just go and decide, what's my target number. And then it doesn't matter if there are 10 people in the room or if there are 1,000 people in the room. You're just going to go and hit your number, and that's success, and move on.
So give yourself credit. Go get those wins. Walk into the room. Walk in with whatever your confidence level is. It's easy for some. I love the speakers who say, you walk in like you own the room. No, walk in like yourself. If you walk into all rooms like you own a room, go own the room. If you walk into all rooms with a little trepidation, walk in with a little trepidation. Whichever you walk in with, or anywhere in between on the spectrum, you've already won. Go meet X amount of people. Lead with kindness. Have an idea of what you want to talk about. Have an idea of what you want to hear about. Follow through. Follow through with those people. The people that, there might be people who you just met who socially you want to go grab a cup of coffee with. Great. There might be people who will end up hiring you and will give you the career you want for the next 20 years. Great also. But follow through. Get to the next level with them. And you make the experience that you want it to be. If you think it's scary, and that's okay. If you don't think it's scary, it's not scary, and that's okay too. But go stack successes. Be kind to yourself. Walk into that room, walk into the Zoom, ask for the lead on LinkedIn, ask for help in person from a friend. But so much of this comes back to that interpersonal relationship. Make those relationships, make those connections, and then networking isn't networking. Networking is just one of those things we do that makes us feel good about ourselves and gets us from point A to point B as a small business owner, as a big business, corporate, cog in the machine, whatever it is, whoever we are today. Networking is going to help, because expanding your network is going to lead to more, better, positive relationships. And you know what? Some of those relationships that end up being no's, they're no's for a reason. Leave them behind and go get some yeses.
Love it, Mitch. Love it. And one last point before we open it up we got a couple minutes for Q&A, but I wanted to say one of the topics we had before is like, is this meeting networking or not? It's primarily informative, but I would view any forum where you have the opportunity to talk to your neighbor, directly chat with them, throw a LinkedIn. Hey, I would love to connect with everyone on this call. I appreciate everyone loving this topic. Here's my LinkedIn. Please reach out to me. Something like that. Almost every opportunity you're at is a networking opportunity, which is an opportunity to build my network, even if it's one person, even if it's, a random chance connection. So take all of those, especially on Zoom, because the chat, as long as it's enabled, is super powerful. Be respectful, but you just drop it in there with your LinkedIn and say, I'd love everyone being here for this topic. Would appreciate being able to connect with you. Here's my link. That is not at all intrusive. And, and you never know what's going to strike up out of there. It could be amazing. We've got, let's say 2 minutes for some questions. So I think we got everything in the chat. Does anyone have something they want to drop out that we can answer?
Yeah. And remember those 3 dots on the chat. You can save that chat if you want to, because it has everybody's information. So if you didn't get a chance to click on everybody's LinkedIn right now, make sure that you hit those 3 dots, so that way you can always go back and connect with everybody.
That is,
and again, blame me. Mitch made me connect with you. Mitch made me do it.
It's one of the best things you can have. Any of these hard, scary challenges, blame your coach, blame someone you saw in a seminar, blame Mitch. You can just generally blame Mitch in life.
You guys can blame me for anything. It doesn't have to be connecting with people on LinkedIn on this. Like, if something goes, if your partner gets mad at you, or something happens at work, just say, well, it's Mitch's fault. And they'll say, who's Mitch? And you'll say, oh, Mitch, and just walk away.
Yep. It's the thunder.
Exactly.
All right. Everyone, thank you for joining us. A couple of follow-ups here. If you're interested in seeing whatever's next, I'd be honored to have a conversation with someone. If you want to just have a free coaching discovery call, find out what's next, talk some more about networking, talk about your business, bit.ly/coach with Brent. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Mitch already jumped the gun on that one. That's right on. Make connections. And then, by the way, when you make the connection on LinkedIn, follow up with someone. Hey, at a minimum, say, hey, thanks for connecting. You never know where you get the opportunity to start a conversation. Better yet, thanks for connecting. Do you have 5 or 10 minutes we can just chat and get to know each other a little bit better? Those are great. And then again, I dropped the link for the Idea Collective Small Business Incubator. The rates are going up. It's an amazing group. At least check it out. But in my opinion, this is some of the best money you will ever spend, no matter where you are. You do not have to be in Milwaukee. It is an international organization. I think they're in like 30 states and 8 countries. Do check that out. That's amazing. So that's what I got today. For everyone, thank you for joining us for this presentation of the Simple 60 workshop on networking. Special thank to Mitch Nelles for leading us through this content, and look forward to seeing everyone next month. Take care.